Welcome to this week's Real Estate Investing REI Deal Breakdown. I'm your host, Greg Hellbeck, and thank you for watching another episode or listening to another episode, depending on how you are consuming this media. So today I'm going to talk about a real estate deal. This is actually going to be part one, the buy side, and I'm going to tell you where I got the lead from and some of the numbers, and hopefully you get value from this. If you're not familiar with me, I have been a full-time real estate investor since I got out of college. I actually started in college. And I've done well over 170 properties, probably more at this point. I don't even keep count anymore, but we buy a lot of houses. We buy 4, 5, 6 houses a month. So definitely someone who is a do-ru, not a guru, as they would say, because I'm doing this business every day. So this is 52 Robin Road in Poughkeepsie. And the way that the deal was acquired was via an online search. So seller went to a website, filled out a form. We called him, or I actually called him. I dealt with the seller. And he wanted to get rid of his property, and he wanted to do it relatively quickly. I think he wanted to close it in about 2 months, and he had a property. He actually wasn't really that distressed. His property needed work, but he was actually a rather savvy guy. And he didn't want to list his house on the market mainly because he wanted certainty, and he wanted to not fix the house up, and the house certainly needed some work. So he wanted certainty because I believe he put in an offer to buy another property down the street that was like turnkey, ready to go, and he wanted the money from this house to cover the purchase for the other house or the down payment or whatever the case was. So we negotiated back and forth. There was some competition on the deal. There was a competitor, a local competitor, and the way that I actually won the deal over the competitor was very simple. I told the seller, I said, I understand you're getting a couple offers. That's totally cool. I said, whatever the other offer is, would you be open to giving me the last look, meaning that I can either match or beat that offer? So I got a commitment from him to do that. And he said, yes, he would do that. He was a man of his word. He came back to me. He told me what the other buyer offered, who actually flipped the house across the street. So it's a shame that guy couldn't get the house and I won it over the phone, but that's what it takes sometimes to win. You got to know what you're doing in the sales department. And it always feels good to beat competitors out on deals because it's a tough world out there. Anyway, so he came back to me. I think he said 221 was the number, and I looked at the property. It was like a 380 house fixed up, 400-ish. I actually went to the property after we got it in contract. I was in New York, and I walked the property, took some pictures, met the guy, and the way that the deal was funded was a private investor. This guy was a dentist, actually a referral from a good friend of mine, and he said he would fund the deal. So we struck a deal with a private lender. We borrowed 100% of the purchase and then some of the rehab money. And then I came out of pocket with the rest of the rehab money. And I bought this house and I put about 55 grand into it. And now we're in contract to sell it. So there's a reason I'm doing a part one here and then a part two. I want to do the part two after the deal closes, assuming it closes, knock on wood. So we bought the house. I put, what did we do? We did a full bathroom upstairs. We did the sand and stain on the floors. We did a brand new deck, had to get a permit for that. Did a brand new roof, had to get a permit for that. We painted the property. We did some sheetrock work. We put new appliances, countertops, and we changed the cabinet handles. We didn't change the cabinets. I should have done that looking back on this. Would have made the house look better. We put new floors in the kitchen. We did we did half of the bathroom downstairs. We put a new toilet, new lights, painted it, but we didn't do the whole bathroom downstairs because it wasn't that bad. And then we did some drainage system work, and we put a new boiler in there. So it was all said and done. It was like 55, 60K in construction. I actually had it lower, but I was wrong on the rehab. Shocker. That happens if you do enough business. So anyway, when we went to go put the house on the market originally, we had a great offer. I think we listed it for $379, and we had a ton of demand, ton of buzz around this property. Nice 4-2 house in Poughkeepsie, 4-bed, 2-bath house. And we took an offer actually from a buyer that was at 405. So that's 26 grand over ask, which was great. The problem was just because someone says yes doesn't mean they're going to do the deal, right? Yes is nothing without how. That's a big Chris Voss line there from Never Split the Difference. And the buyer had an issue. They didn't have a lot of money and they needed money from their retirement account to like put down as the down payment, and the retirement company wouldn't let the money go for some reason. It was this whole thing. So we ended up actually bailing on that buyer. We ended up getting another buyer that we're currently in contract on for just ask price. So I thought I was going to make like 55, 60 grand on this thing. Now I'm making like 30, 35 grand when it's all said and done because I have another month or so I have to carry this thing with the interest. So, when it's all said and done, do I want to do a deal and make $30,000? No, if I'm flipping a house. And, it is what it is. Hopefully it closes and we can actualize that. But if I'm flipping a property, I want to make about 10% of that ARV, at least, if not more. So in that case, it would have been like, well, in this case, 38,000. I'm making about 30, 35. So that's less. right? It was supposed to be much more, or 50 grand, whatever's higher, depending on the house. So in this case, the big thing that I realized is that you need to understand, just because you have a great offer on your property doesn't mean that buyer is actually going to perform. Because when you're flipping a property and you're selling to a retail buyer who's getting a mortgage, there's a lot of crap that can go wrong before that house closes. Their appraisal could come back short, the inspection could kill your deal, the financials could kill the loan. The buyer could change their mind in New York because it takes like a week to get into contract, which is something I'm actually trying to avoid in New York for the most part. It's not as easy as I thought because we have all this momentum there. But that's what you deal with when you're flipping houses. So you have to understand how to qualify buyers, right? You have to understand that. And if you have another nugget that I learned from this actual deal is that, and this actually may be counterintuitive. Some people might disagree with me here, but I have enough information and data to basically object. And the thing is that just because you accept somebody's offer doesn't mean you need to just throw every other buyer away. Because a buyer who says, I will offer you X, and then the seller that says yes, you have a verbal deal in New York. This is mainly in New York, because in other states you just go right into contract, but I'm talking about New York specifically. You should not be obligated to sell that buyer that property, even if you told them you would, because that buyer can go ahead and screw you just as quick as you can screw them. So what I'm doing now with all our flips, and people might get pissed that I'm saying this, but I don't really care. I don't care. Mostly real estate agents get pissed at me for this, but who cares? Honestly, it's just the way it is. Just because you have an accepted offer doesn't mean you basically, decline other buyers to go see that property. Because I'll tell you what, if we have an accepted offer on flips from now on in New York, and we're in like this weird process in New York where like you have an accepted offer, the attorney's working on the contract, they're doing the inspection, you're kind of in like purgatory because you don't know if you have a deal yet. If another buyer comes along and offers more, even with better terms or maybe even worse terms, I'll accept that offer and then go with that buyer. Because the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of buyers, at least in the Hudson Valley, it's so competitive, they'll make these offers and then they'll flake out, and then you're just kind of left holding your nuts as the seller, right? Sorry if I offended anyone there with that language, but it is what it is. That's how I talk. And then you're screwed. And I've seen real estate agents, and I'm kind of going on a rant here, where they're like, oh, well, you accepted my client's offer and now you're changing your mind. It's like, well, guess what? Yeah, that's true, because your client could have changed their mind as well. So here's the nugget here. Nothing happens until a contract is signed and that buyer's deposit is in, right? Until you have that, that property is wide open and wide available. And that's a lesson I learned from this property. We should have done a better job doing that in the beginning, and maybe we could have got ourselves more money. So that's part one. Hopefully you got value from this. Hopefully you got some nuggets from this. I'll do a part 2 video, hopefully when it closes. Obviously we've got a couple more weeks till the contract closes, hopefully. Knock on wood there. You never know with real estate deals. So if you got value, like the video, subscribe, like the podcast, however you're seeing this or listening to this. And then if you're in the Hudson Valley, Delaware, the Hudson Valley, Reno, or San Diego, and you have a property you want to sell me or you want to partner with me on a wholesale deal, email me, Greg@velocityhousebuyers.com. I'll see everybody on the next video. Take care.